Alright, ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I thought we could switch it up a bit and talk about the top 10 most hated cars in Need for Speed Unbound. This will be part 1 of 2. It was originally going to be just all in one video, but as you guys know, I like to talk, and when I was breaking down everything to say, it became almost 5 pages long. So yeah, there's that. Part 2 will feature the other 5 cars, and if you guys want, we can make a part 3 of cars you guys feel are widely hated in the community. If you look on YouTube, all you see are build videos and best cars for each class. But where are the videos talking about the hate? Where are the videos spreading the hate? We love to spread hate. I'm just kidding, y'all. Do not take that serious at all. Please do not. You know what? Let's just move on. Before we get into the list, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy. Our goal of hitting 600 subs is right around the corner. Y'all already know I'm trying to get that 15-cent cash bonus when I get monetized. Also, this list is based off of what I have seen in the community from day 1 all the way till now, so everyone may not agree with this. If you all have cars you feel I have missed or should be moved up or down the list, then let me know in the comments. But besides that, the intro is getting a little long, so let's get straight into it. Number 1 has to be the Ferrari Pista. Now, a lot of you guys were not around back then when this car was the most feared and most hated thing in the entire community. When people discovered that you could bring this car all the way down from S plus to B class, it changed the game completely. This thing was so fast around the track, it had every single world record the same week the game came out. You want to talk about exploits? This was the exploit. It was so bad that the dev team had to rework the entire car upgrade system and made it so cars can only go down 1 tier from their starting tier. For all of y'all that are old heads within Unbound, you know how crazy this was. This car really had everyone in a chokehold, and if you were caught using it on stream or in general, you had to be prepared for a wave of hate. I hate B-Class now, and I hated it back then, so I think I only used the car a handful of times, but every time I used it, there was always some flack. To this day, I still do not think that any car in the game has garnered more hate and attention than this one, and that is why it is number 1 on the list. Number 2, of course, is the R8. Everyone had to know this was going to be on the list. I mean, come on. Every day on the Need for Speed Reddit, there is someone complaining about someone else using meta, and the R8 is the cause 9 times out of 10. The R8 may truly be the start of a wave of players that care more about the car others choose to use than the person picking the car does. Then to add to the already large group of players that hate the car, it didn't make it any better when EA decided to lock the car behind a paid ketchup pack. That right there really solidified that the R8 would go down as one of the most hated cars in Need for Speed Unbound history. The funny part about this is so many people were asking for the brand to make a return in the game, and when they did, it became one of those be careful what you wish for type of things. But honestly, if it wasn't the R8, it was going to be something else that would have taken the meta spot. I do think it was a good decision for the brand itself to be added back though. And also, I think it was a good decision for new cars to introduce a brand new type of handling model as well. So even though people hate the R8, I'm a firm believer it had a big part in keeping this game alive for a lot longer. Number 3 is the Lotus, and y'all know which one, which is insane considering this car is brand new and already is one of the most hated cars in the entire game. If you all do not believe me, go check out the recent post from the Criterion team asking for feedback about the 2 new cars that were dropped for the Hot Pursuit update. There are so many comments talking about the Lotus that someone unknowing about the update wouldn't even be able to guess that there was a whole other car added alongside it. There are so many complaints about this car, from the handling to it being electric to it being faster than the Regera, etc. I personally think the way they handled it was cool on paper, and it did work somewhat, but not in the way everyone wanted it to. The whole idea was to make something that could compete with the best car in the game, which was the Regera, not to make something that was far better than it, because now instead of everyone using the Regera all the time, now they're just going to use the Lotus. So the problem stays the exact same as it was before. To add insult to injury, the fact that the devs tried to advertise the car as a true competitor to the Regera by having the Regera versus Lotus playlist and then asking the community how they compare makes it even crazier. Speaking of the Regera, it is number 4 on this list, and that should not be news to anyone. Though it has been hated for a very long time, the reason why it is not higher is 1, the Lotus has basically had all the hate transferred to it, and now people are starting to feel bad for the Regera, which is crazy. And 2, you only see the Regera in S plus as opposed to the R8, where you pretty much see it in the 2 most popular classes, A plus and S, all the time. Contrary to popular belief, the Regera was actually thought to be one of the slower S plus cars for a while, until it was discovered it was actually the best. Back in the early days of Unbound, I'm talking volume 1 and 2, the Bugatti still had a cult following, thinking that it was the best car in the game. After a lot of back and forth, the Regera finally came out on top, and that is when it became widely known it was the best. Remember that money was not easy to get back then like how it is now. There was no PvP, races you could do by yourself, bonus money, boosted playlist, daily challenges. There was nothing, so a lot of people did not have the means of getting a Regera, let alone upgrading it to make it unstoppable. A lot of you all who love to play S Plus but hate the Regera would have loved it back then. And to put it into perspective on how long it took to get the money for that car, I streamed for 12 plus hours straight and still could barely get the $1 million plus I needed to afford it. Times were tough, but that also meant you saw a lot more variety in S Plus, unlike how it is now. Number 5 is the Tester Rosa. A few of you guys might be surprised to see this on the list, but this car has become the new Pista in B and dominates in A+, and S. It was so good that it even took a spin at Rumble before that genre of racing became completely irrelevant. I would say that this car really started to get a bunch of hate when people realized the potential it had on straightaway tracks. The Rosa is so good that if you pick anything else, you basically lost. It essentially became a Regera in S Plus situation. However, the reason why it is not higher on the list is due to the fact that it suffers on anything else that is not a straightaway. I am not saying that the car is bad, because that is not the case at all. But it does get beat out majority of the time by the likes of the R8, the 959, and others in different classes it can be put in. Now for B class, I do not do a bunch of B class, but I am aware of how good it is in that tier as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe it is the meta car. And we all know how the community gets when a car becomes meta. The hate automatically comes with it. Another thing I will say is that I do believe that the fact the car is universally loved in general does kind of negate some of the active hate it does get on the daily. But this is part 1 of the 2-part series, y'all, so make sure to drop cars you think will be in part 2. I can also make a part 3 as well, as said before, with viewer recommendations, so let me know what you all think about that. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.